Welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Life. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'll be reviewing the front pages of the dailies and analyzing them. Let's move straight to the front page of Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Election Tribunal Judgment, Mixed Reactions as Atiku Obi head to Supreme Court. I won't validate a mandate banditry that's coming from Atiku. Adds, we've lost a battle, there is war ahead. No relenting in my quest for justice that's coming from Obi. Mixed reactions greet verdict. APC commends the judiciary for strengthening Nigeria's democracy. We won't attribute to inciting people that's coming from Nelton elders. Court ruling should be respected. CNG is saying that. We'll make our position known very soon. That's coming from Afenifere. PEFT ruling a charade. That's coming from MBF. I don't anticipate this kind of negative ruling. Ezeife is saying that. Ruling confirms TINUBU as Nigeria's choice. It's coming from Oyebanji. Crude oil theft. Nigeria lost 16.25 trillion naira in 11 years. It's coming from Rep Speaker. Telecom sector adds 16% to GDP in second quarter of 2023. And on page 9, food insecurity widespread nationwide as Lagos, Borno, 3 others top charts. Owen Lakemfa, the best interest of the African people is to push France out of the continent and collectively build a united Africa where no one will be hungry or oppressed. On sport, CAF congratulates Osimhen on Ballon d'Or nomination. Stories above on page 19. Nigeria's fiscal deficit to decline in fourth quarter of 2023. That's coming from MPC. On page 7, 30 killed in Abuja, landslide, 19 kidnapped. NNPCL not opposed to sale of Agip shares to Owando. That's coming from spokesman. Nigeria poor in leadership and management. TINUBU is saying that. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, raging storm over failed federal roads in Edo. That can be seen on page 22 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now let's move to the Guardian. Guardian is leading with poor lessons from 2020. Endless wait for palliatives in states amid accountability deficit. You can see that on the big story, pages 4 and 5. Atiku Obi rejects PEPC ruling, head for Supreme Court. Nigeria needs prayers to end insecurity, says Defense Minister. Lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, we have Lagos Assembly rejects 2 commissioner nominees, confirms 15 others. That can be seen on page 27. Now, the nation is leading with Atiku Obi. Why we are challenging tribunal verdicts, you can see that on page 4. Stories above the nameplate. Nigeria, Australia to partner on training of local miners. Lagos Assembly drops 2 Sanwo-Olu's new nominees. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, customs stop defaulting banks from revenue collection. You can see that on page 7. Now the Punch. Punch is leading with Tribunal Judgment. APC lampoons Atiku Obi. Opposition attacks INEC. Judgment devoid of justice, says ex-vice president. Obi opposition plan Beavers Arkin. APC insists. Petitioners, legal terms storm court of appeal for judgment certified true copy. Passengers stranded as foreign airlines delay cancel flights as at MMIA. You can see that on page 47. And of course, there are 3 photo stories accompanying that headline. NIA demand security checks on foreign poll observers. You can see that on page 27. Stories above. Manufacturers pay 607 billion naira tax in 6 months. That's coming from MBS. Akeredolu returns now in Ibadan, Odo Assembly leader. Lastly, on the Punch newspaper, set up customer centers. Federal government tells discos. You can see that on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break as our guests will be analyzing these stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Dr. Isheoluwa Ige. He's a media scholar and journalist. Good morning, Dr. Isheoluwa.
Good morning, ma.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Now let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies. And of course, we're talking about the tribunal judgment. What do you think about the judgment and the fact that the tribunal dismissed the petition of Mr. Peter Obi and Atiku?
The court the tribunal had entered its judgment in respect of the three major petitions that were maintained against the election of President TINUBU. I am of the view that the Presidential Election Petition Court is a court of first instance. It does not have a final say on the issues raised by the petitioners. And I believe that all the petitioners have the right of appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has the final say on this issue. Now, looking at the judgment of the tribunal, which is the court of first instance on this issue, I can say without any equivocation that the judgment is very okay. It is left for the final court of law on that issue to decide whether it will affirm or reject the decision entered by the Court of Appeal, which is the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. If we want to, for us to actually look at to analyze the judgment, I think it would be better to look at the issues that were placed before the court. Let us not forget that 5 political parties with their presidential candidates approached the court within 21 days that were given to them by the electoral law. But 2 of them, within 5 days, when the trial began, withdrew. Now, the remaining 3, which are the LP, the PDP, and the APM, said that they will get to the root of it. They said that they are going to contest that election, maybe to wherever, to the Supreme Court, if possible. Now, looking at the cases before this, before the tribunal, I will say that for APM, I think its case is very, very simple. It is talking about double nomination. Double nomination that the Vice President, Shetima, was earlier nominated as a candidate, as a senatorial candidate. But along the line, they also asked him, you know, he was renominated as a VP, as the Vice President. They said that under the law, it is not possible, you know, for a political party to nominate a candidate for 2 different political offices. The court had said that the issue of qualification or disqualification is a constitutional matter, and that it is also a pre-election issue. A pre-election issue that cannot be ventilated at the tribunal. So it was just a very simple one. So that petition was knocked down. If you ask me, I will say that the judgment on that case was fantastic, because the Supreme Court had earlier decided that no political party has the right to contest how another political party nominates its candidate. That is the position of the law for now. So, and that was what the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal did in the case of APM. Now, for For the case of for that of the LP, they raised a number of issues. I think about 5 or thereabout. They said they also raised that issue of double nomination. They also said that
Doctor,
TINUBU.
what do you think about the IM saying they still want to go to the Supreme Court?
That I just said that before now. I said they have the right of appeal to the Supreme Court, and of course the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has the right to be wrong. So, and their decision is not final. So, if they are not satisfied, of course they can go to the Supreme Court. They have that constitutional right which they want to exercise. So, I was only trying to look at the judgment on each of the cases. No.
Yes.
So they have the right. Yes. They
Okay.
have the right.
So one of the cases dismissed that people thought was going to work against the president was the case of certificates, and also the money that was forfeited by the president. They also brought up that case, but it was dismissed. So what do you think about the court's decision on that?
In this kind of cases, you don't only look at the facts, you also look at the law relating to those facts. Looking at the facts, one can say that there is no way TINUBU will get out of the mess. One can easily say that there is no way TINUBU's election will not be invalidated. But if you listen to the justices of the Court of Appeal, I think they tried to establish that those allegations were not proved. They were talking about the fine imposed on him, 460,000 naira, over an offense involving dishonesty, involving dishonesty, whichever, and that it was caught by the provision of Section 137, subsection 1 and B of the 1999 Constitution. But the tribunal, based on the facts that were tabled before the court, said that they did not provide evidence to show that TINUBU was ever arrested or that TINUBU was arraigned in law court. So, because if you say that somebody lost something or somebody forfeited something, maybe some money or whatever, maybe property, whichever, it is maybe one might think that maybe that person must have been arrested or he must have undergone a trial. But that in this case, that TINUBU never, that there was no evidence was shown, no evidence was presented before the court to show that he was ever arrested over this or that he was ever convicted. So they said that merely saying that he was fined $460,000 was not enough, to establish the fact that he was actually caught by the provisions of Section 137, subsection 1B of the 1999 Constitution. But like I told you, the Court of Appeal does not have a final say on this issue. The Supreme Court will still look at the issue again, will review maybe the position of the Court of Appeal on this and decide. So that is that on
to douse the tension in the country, the federal government had rolled out a palliative plan with 2 billion naira already disbursed to each state. But findings shown that what happened in 2020 is also repeating itself, because many people are complaining that they've not received the palliatives.
Well, Right from day one, in fact, I was surprised in the first place that the TINUBU government was also introducing this kind of a palliative. I was expecting its administration to address the root cause of the issue that we are contending with. That is these refineries. So all this money that the government has approved, for sharing, I don't know what that will do. I don't know how it will solve the problem, how it will solve the hardship that Nigerians are facing. I would have expected that all this money should have been used, to fix the refineries so that the pump price of petroleum will come down, and so that it will have effect on virtually everything that we do. So on the sharing of the said palliative, it appears that, as you suggested, it appears that what happened under Buhari government is also happening now, because I know that the money may not actually get to those that ought to, benefit from the palliatives. In the first place, I don't even know whether they have come up with those who are even qualified, to benefit from the palliative. But like I told you, I do not even believe in the palliative. What I think the government should have done should have been to fix the refinery and not sharing money that would not solve any problem.
All right, thank you much for joining us this morning, Dr. Isholuwa.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and this is where we have to draw the curtain. My name is Damlola Okunshakin. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms shown on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen.